YouTube! Welcome back to another video. I know it's been a while, but I have brought forth to you a take on a build that you have probably seen before, but we put the old TH3 spin on it, and I think you're gonna like it. So, today, we're gonna be talking about the latest and greatest Void Hunter build. Now, you have probably seen several iterations of something similar to this using this exotic chess piece right here, but this one, I promise you, is different than anything that you have seen. I've watched all of the videos, but I always like to take, you know, the good builds that I have fun using and kind of put my twist on them to really fit my playstyle, and I think you're gonna like this one a whole lot. But before we get into all of the weapons and the other armor pieces and mods that we're using, as always, let's get into the subclass. The Void Hunter subclass has been one of my favorites since Void actually launched. It seems like 100 years ago now, the Void 3.0 update. But this particular setup of fragments, I have not seen before, and I'll tell you why as we go through. But first and foremost, Shadow Shot is the super you're going to want to use. This is obviously the superior out of the options when it comes to the super in this subclass. Ability-wise, I use Marksman's Dodge just because I do like to have that instant reload during the invisibility process. It just saves a lot of time. But if you prefer Gambler's Dodge for the movement, you certainly can do that. It recharges your melee. It's just not an ability feature that you use during this build really at all. And so Marksman's Dodge, especially with the heavy that we're going to be using, just makes the most sense in PvE. If you don't use triple jump on your hunter, I can't help you any more than this, and you should probably go look up a Titan build, but use whatever jump you want. Snare Bomb, because it's the only choice, even though we should have some more choices, Bungie, looking at you. And the Vortex Grenade, because it is
dumb.
The Vortex Void Grenade is
so stupid.
But use that. Right down the list, let's talk aspects. So we're looking at Vanishing Step and Stylish Executioner. So Vanishing Step, very straightforward. When you dodge, you go invis. Very straightforward. That's kind of the whole crux of this thing. Stay invisible as long as possible. And Stylish Executioner, again, all about invisibility. Anytime you defeat a weakened, suppressed, or volatile target, boom, invisible, and you get true sight if you like that. Doesn't really matter. But both of these give 2 fragment slots apiece. So now down to the fragments. So if you've watched any of my other build guides, like this Titan build guide that a lot of you guys like, or this Warlock video that I am a big fan of, you will know that I really like to change up my fragments compared to like the meta, and this one is no different. As of recording this video, January 12th of 2023, wow. Resilience is still the #1 stat any class needs to be running. You need to have 100 resilience if you're playing in PvE content, period, point blank. So the +10 always helps, so definitely use Echo of Leeching if you need the help. Next, we have the Echo of Undermining. Your Void Grenades weaken targets. Now, one of the things with the actual game loop of this build is you are throwing grenades and using them quite a bit, because those Void Grenades weaken targets, which then activates your Stylish Executioner even further, because those weakened targets grant you invisibility, and the loop continues. So it does give you -20 discipline, but with the other things that we have in play here, that's not going to be a big deal. So definitely use Echo of Undermining here. Next is Echo of Obscurity. Finisher final blows grant invisibility. It also gives you a +10 recovery. You're not actually speccing into recovery necessarily since you are playing Hunter here, but the extra +10 will help if you get caught out. That Finisher final blow also gives you kind of a nice little out if you're in a pinch to go invisible and get out of the engagement. And finally, one that I will die on a hill on is the Echo of Persistence. Void buffs that are applied to you, in our case, the majority of this, invisibility, has an increased duration. Again, it does give you a -10 to mobility. You're really not going to feel that too much with the other stuff that we've got going on here, but the void buff increase to invisibility will really set this thing apart and allow you to be invisible for much longer. Now, with the aspects and fragments out of the way, let's talk stats. So the fact that as of recording this video, 100 resilience still gives you a 40% damage reduction essentially for free in PvE content is absolutely absurd, and I cannot believe it hasn't been nerfed yet. It will eventually, but for now, 100 resilience is a must if you're running PvE stuff. After that, you're a hunter. Let's make sure we have some mobility going, because your mobility is directly tied to how fast your dodge comes back. So make sure that's as high as you can get it. You will not have room for Powerful Friends on this build. For those of you who know, Powerful Friends does give you a +20 given the right circumstances to mobility. So make sure, just picking your armor, that your mobility is as high as it can go while maintaining 100 resilience. After that, in the bottom 3 stats, you're definitely going to want to look at getting your discipline just as high as possible. With the minus and that kind of thing that you're getting in your subclass, you want to kind of mitigate that as much as possible, get that as high as you can, but there are a lot of things involved in the rest of this build that will help making sure you get your grenade back as fast as you can. Okay, so now let's talk weapons before we get into the really juicy stuff. So I always run Witherhoard. It's there, it's super easy, it's incredibly broken still. Use what you want in this slot. But really where the juice starts to be worth the squeeze is in this secondary spot. So now I rock an Unforgiven. You have the option here. If you want to go funnel web, you certainly can. It really depends on the archetype you like, but I actually really like the 750 subs right now. And this particular role does offer Demolitionist. And as you can see here, kills with this weapon generate grenade energy, and then activating your grenade ability reloads the weapon from reserve. Demolitionist with this particular build is an incredible addition. On top of that, Dragonfly also. So precision kills create an elemental damage explosion. All of that ties in so beautifully with the mods and the combat mods that we have here on the build. So that is my absolute peak recommendation when it comes to your actual weapon that you're going to be using most of the time. Bitter Spite is also a nice little perk to have, but Demolitionist Dragonfly would be my go-to recommendation. If you do prefer funnel web, something like Subsistence, Adrenaline Junkie, of course, Vice Stinger, also a very viable option to use here. I just very much prefer this particular Unforgiven. Now for the heavy weapon, you do have quite a bit of option. I have opted to go with the Retrofit Escapade because Golden Tricorn is the single greatest perk in this game right now, and anyone who says otherwise is lying to you, because Golden Tricorn actually grants bonus damage with final blows, and if the buff is active from the final blow, a grenade or melee kill of the same damage type, in this case Void, greatly increases its damage and duration. It is the perfect perk to go along with everything that we've got going here, and it is the best perk in the game. Write it down. This particular one also has 4th times the charm, so rapidly landing precision hits will return 2 rounds to the magazine, which is a fantastic thing. This is an excellent retrofit. If you have a crafted one, of course, go with that. If you prefer something like a linear, the Taipan that everyone's got, also very good for like boss damage or whatever. But today, and what I recommend, is using a golden 4th times retrofit because it's a lot of fun. Just don't use it on that particular boss in like the Spire, the first Harpy boss in the Spire dungeon, because it sends it all over the place and you can't kill it. So. But other than that, use this one. All right, now to the moment you've all been waiting for, the combat mods. So we'll start with the chest piece because that's where everyone's at. You do want to be using, I don't even know how to pronounce this thing, but use the Hauberk chest piece because this exotic is the single most ridiculous thing for a hunter right now, and you can't tell me they didn't buff it this last little go around, because they absolutely did. Let me read this to you. Its exotic perk is called See Me, Feel Me. Your void weapons gain volatile rounds after you emerge from being invisible, which is good enough. But then it keeps going. When you are invisible and defeat a combatant while using a finisher, all of your weapons gain bonus damage, and you and your nearby allies gain reserve overshield, and improve class ability regeneration, and these reserve overshields can be deployed by using your class ability. So they're just on reserve all the time. You can give you and your teammates just infinite health and shields and power. As a longtime hunter main, generally speaking, I'm on board. This thing is nuts. It's insane. Okay, let's jump up to the helmet for the combat mods. Per usual, I'm going to show you how all this stuff fits together and kind of how the gameplay loop goes at the end of the video, so make sure you stick around for that. But on your helmet, what has become a long-time staple in builds of mine because the mod is so good is Well of Life. Picking up a solar elemental well will grant you an increased regeneration for a short period of time. This pairs really well while you're going invisible. Your recovery is not very high because you're not speccing into it, and so having Well of Life will give you that little burst of health that you need to make sure that you stay alive throughout the entire encounter. And I'll show you how we're getting these later, how we're getting these solar wells later, and you'll see them spawn when we go into the gameplay at the end of the video. After that, we are going to talk Ashes to assets. You gain super energy on grenade kills. One of the big things with this thing is that you're throwing those vortex grenades as often as you can, which then in turn gives you your tether back as fast as you can. Amazing, amazing mod. Ashes to assets, I think personally, by the way, needs to be moved to 4 energy instead of 3, but we'll see what they're going to do with this new rework that they're working on. But take advantage of ashes to assets while you can. And then I have a harmonic siphon on mine. You had an extra energy or 2 to throw at this thing. So harmonic siphon, it will drop orbs as you're getting your rapid weapon final blows with damage matching to your subclass type. We're using void weapons all around, so that's perfect. On down to your arms. So on my grips, I have Well of Tenacity. So picking up a Void Elemental Well reduces the damage you take from combatants for a short period of time. It gives you incredible resistance, and again, we're popping these wells like crazy throughout this entire gameplay. So Well of Tenacity, fantastic. It is a glorious mod, and the resistance, you can really feel it because it does stack with your 100 resilience. So it does stack with that 100 resilience. You're going to want to put this on. It's absolutely incredible. On top of that, I have Bolstering Detonations. It grants class ability energy when you cause damage with a grenade. I double stacked those. If you wanted to change one out for a Focusing Strike instead for some reason, I guess you could. But your smoke's not doing a whole lot there, and we're throwing grenades all the time. Bolstering Detonation just is the better option here, I promise. Now, on the chest piece itself, you guys know I don't like to use artifact mods in these builds if I can help it. The only ones that I do use are the actual damage resistance mods, and this one is no different. I currently have the Energy Diffusion Substrate on and a Void Resistance mod on because I was running Spire and it's void everywhere. Feel free to double stack the Energy Diffusion Substrate because they did fix the bug where it wasn't stacking properly. And so just whichever kind of option you want there, absolutely work those out for you. And then a Reaping Wellmaker. So after activating your class ability, your next weapon final blow will spawn a Void Elemental Well. That's how we're getting Void Elemental Wells to feed into Tenacity. On your boots, or your strides, we have Recuperation and Innervation. You guys know that I run Solar Boots pretty much all the time because of this next mod, and so I do run a lot of Innervation and Recuperation. We're creating orbs thanks to that helmet mod, and so this replenishes health every time you pick it up, and it reduces your grenade cooldown every time you pick up an Orb of Power. So those all pair really well together. And finally, boom, Explosive Wellmaker, another accidentally overpowered mod, I think. So Explosive Wellmaker, for some reason, spawns solar elemental wells from just about everything, it seems like, including volatile explosions. So every time you're killing something with a volatile explosion, you get solar elemental wells on the ground, which then feed into your well of life. Hello? Healing all the time. Everything is exploding everywhere, and so getting Explosive Wellmaker to reap the benefits of those solar wells into well of life. Last but not least, on my cowboy hat, what do I have? On Hunter, I always run a stasis class item because utility kickstart is so cheap. So double utility kickstart is what I have. If you want to play around a little bit, depending on what your stats are, and if you can kind of move this down into something else, I use 2 utility kickstarts. Depending on your stats as far as how your armor plays out and all of that stuff, if you could have the room to drop your general armor mod and move into something like a solo operative or a weakened clear, feel free to do that. There's no bad thing in doing that and making that little bit your own. I use 2 utility kickstarts because every time I dodge, I get half of my dodge back immediately, and then I throw a grenade, and that gives me class ability energy. I have my dodge all the time. I'm invisible all the time. And on that, I also run Font of Might. This is about stacking as much damage as you can. The chest piece with the invisibility and the finisher, and using the void weapons and the volatile explosions, and Font of Might with the void wells. It's just the maths itself. Golden tricorn on the heavy, use it. It is gloriousness. So historically, like I said, I've used duality, and I've recently started using grass because there's just a lot more ads and they continue to spawn. And so that's why I'm in grass, just kind of showing you the gameplay loop here. And this thing is it's very strong. So just out of the gate, we'll go ahead and go invisible and just start going to town. So you can see after, first of all, the void explosions there. And you start, now I'm invisible again because of the explosions. Explosions, and then I can dodge again. By the time I really am in need of something, this is so silly. I have my class ability back again or whatever. And if you get to a point where you can finish, it's silly. It's silly. You have an overshield, explosions galore. You can see super energy's coming back super fast. You can dodge to reload your weapon, and on and on. And you can see the solar wells. Oh, cool. Bounty done. Nice. You can see the solar wells hitting the ground. And then in the left right there, the healing starts. And so you're never without health either. Volatile rounds last so long. It is incredible. If you ever get in a bind, you just dodge, run away. And then the explosions start again. Throw a grenade. Void well. Solar well right there. And look, you're just back at it again. Do remember though, if you're invisible and you come out of invisibility for your void volatile rounds, you have to already be on the weapon you plan on using, because if you swap weapons, you sometimes lose the volatile rounds. I guess it's some sort of bug, but it's happened to me several times, so just watch for that. And you're invisible again. And the loop is just the same. And you have your dodge back. This thing is incredible. The loop lasts forever. It's almost impossible to break it because of how long all of these, like invisibility, volatile, all of that stuff lasts. You're just invisible all the time. If you want to be, like, you do extra damage. Golden Tricorn is beautiful. By the way, how Golden Tricorn actually works, I think some people are confused about it. You get a kill like that, and then you get a kill with your grenade, and you can see that it stacks there. I didn't mean to do that. But then you're just doing just stupid, insane damage. Makes for a very, very easy, fun boss DPS. So anyway, guys, that's really it. That's the build. I highly recommend you use it. Give it a shot. Let me know in the comments down below if you liked it, if you didn't, what you think I could do to make it better. But I really like this twist on this build. And with that, guys, I will see you in the next one. Bye!